The morning Maggie Lane's life ended, the sky was too blue. She stood in the boarding house kitchen, hands trembling as she tried to tie her golden brown hair back with a fraying ribbon. The ribbon slipped through her fingers. Once, twice. Finally she gave up. Let her hair fall loose around her shoulders, thick and wavy. Mrs. Calloway, the boarding house matron, appeared in the doorway, thin-lipped, cold-eyed. "Sheriff sent word. You're to be at the courthouse by noon. They're auctioning your father's ranch today." Maggie's stomach dropped. "I didn't know." "Well, now you do. Get dressed. And for heaven's sake, try to look presentable." Mrs. Calloway's eyes raked over Maggie's body with disgust. "Though I suppose there's only so much you can do." The other girls giggled from the parlor. Maggie climbed to the attic and pulled on her only decent dress. Faded blue cotton. She'd worn it to her mother's funeral 2 years ago. Now the fabric pulled tight across her soft body. The seams strained at her hips. The buttons pressed against her chest. She caught her reflection in the cracked mirror. Round face. Soft arms. Thick waist. She looked away quickly. The 3 girls waited in the front hall. "Oh, Maggie," one cooed. "Is that your funeral dress?" "How fitting," another laughed. "Since you're burying yourself today, do you think the dress'll hold? Or will it split right there on the courthouse steps?" Their laughter followed her out the door. By the time she reached the courthouse square, a crowd had gathered. Every rancher. Every shopkeeper. Every woman with nothing better to do. Maggie tried to slip around the edge, but Mrs. Dalton, the banker's wife, spotted her. There she is. The Lane girl. Heads turned. Eyes found her. "Poor thing," Mrs. Dalton said loudly. "All that eating after her father died. Look at the size of her now." "Grief does strange things," another woman agreed. "Though most people lose their appetite." Not her, apparently. Scattered laughter. Maggie's throat closed. Sheriff Amos Crow climbed the courthouse steps, grinning wide. He held up a yellowed deed. "Lane Ranch. 300 acres. Good water. Timber. Barn needs work, but the bones are solid." Men nodded. Crow paused. His eyes found Maggie. That grin widened. "And here's the sweetener, gentlemen." He gestured at her like livestock. Maggie Lane herself. Comes with the property. Her daddy's debts legally bound her to this deed. Whoever buys the ranch gets 5 years of her labor. Silence. Then laughter exploded. "You're joking. Does she come with a reinforced floor? Better check your wagon springs before you haul her home." The crowd roared. Maggie's hands clenched so tight her nails cut into her palms. "Look at her," a woman whispered behind her. "She's about to cry. How pathetic. She should have thought of that before she ate herself into debt. I heard she went through her father's entire pantry in 2 weeks. That's not grief. That's gluttony." The words stabbed like knives. Tears pressed against her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of them. Crow raised his hand. "So who's brave enough?" "Lane Ranch and the girl. Can't separate them. Package deal." No one moved. Men looked at each other, shook their heads, turned away. Maggie's chest tightened until she couldn't breathe. She was so worthless even free labor couldn't make her valuable. Then the crowd shifted. The laughter died. Heavy boots struck wood, slow. Deliberate, each footfall like a hammer on stone. The crowd parted. A man walked through. He was massive, taller than anyone she'd ever seen. Shoulders broad enough to block the sun. Arms thick with muscle, veins visible under sun-browned skin. His chest strained against a worn cotton shirt. A jagged scar cut down his jaw. His hands were scarred, rough, dangerous. His eyes were dark, cold, unreadable. Cole Brennan, the bear of Dry Creek. He'd left 12 years ago to fight. No one thought he'd come back. He stopped at the base of the courthouse steps. Silence pressed down like a weight. She part of the deal? His voice was low, rough as gravel. Crow's grin faltered. Yeah, but you can toss her out once. How much? Crow blinked. What? How much for the ranch? $500. Cole pulled bills from his coat, counted them slowly, dropped them on the clerk's table. Sold, the clerk whispered. Crow handed Cole the deed, hands shaking slightly. Cole folded it without looking, then turned. His dark eyes found Maggie. She froze, waiting for disgust, for mockery, for the punchline, but his face stayed cold, empty. You, his voice cut across the silent square. Come here. Maggie's legs trembled. She forced herself forward through the crowd, every eye burning into her. She stopped in front of him, had to tilt her head back to see his face. Get in the wagon. His voice was flat, final. Maggie climbed into the wagon bed, her body shaking. Cole didn't help, didn't look back, just climbed into the driver's seat and snapped the reins. The wagon lurched forward. Behind them, the crowd erupted. Did you see that? He actually bought her. Poor fool doesn't know what he's gotten himself into. Their laughter chased the wagon out of town. Maggie sat gripping the wooden sides, tears streaming silently down her face. She'd been sold, like property, and the scarred stranger who bought her looked at her like she was nothing. The wagon ride lasted 2 hours. Cole said nothing. Maggie gripped the wooden sides until her knuckles turned white. Every bump sent pain through her body. Her dress soaked with sweat. Dust coated her skin. She wanted to ask where they were going, what he expected, but fear trapped the words. The sun climbed higher. Her stomach cramped with hunger. She hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. Finally, the ranch came into view. Lane Ranch, her childhood home, where her mother had sung while baking bread, where her father had read to her by lamplight. Now it looked like a corpse. Fences sagged, posts rotting. The barn roof dipped dangerously. Weeds choked her mother's garden. Porch steps hung broken. Paint peeled in long strips. Everything her father built was dying. Cole stopped the wagon, climbed down without looking at her. Maggie waited. He didn't help, just walked toward the house and disappeared inside. She climbed down carefully, legs shaking. Alone, Cole emerged moments later. Stopped on the porch, arms crossed. House needs cleaning. Start inside. Not a request. An order. Yes, sir, Maggie whispered. His jaw tightened, but he said nothing. Just turned toward the barn. Maggie pushed open the front door. The smell hit first. Rot, mildew, death. Dust covered everything. Cobwebs hung like funeral veils. Dried mud caked the floor. Dishes crusted with moldy food. Mouse droppings scattered everywhere. A bird's nest sat abandoned in the rafters. Broken eggshells beneath it. Her mother had kept this house spotless once. Now it looked left behind to die. Maggie's chest ached. But she got to work. She hauled water from the well and scrubbed floors on her hands and knees. The water turned black. Her arms burned. Her back screamed. She kept going. She swept cobwebs. Spiders dropped into her hair, onto her shoulders. She brushed them off with trembling hands. She scrubbed dishes until her fingers bled. Beat dust from curtains until she couldn't stop coughing. Pulled weeds from floorboard cracks, their roots tearing at her blistered hands. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Maggie's vision started to blur. Her hands shook so badly she could barely grip the scrub brush. She hadn't eaten in over a day, hadn't had water since dawn. But she didn't stop, because stopping meant thinking, and thinking meant remembering. The laughter, the mockery, The way they'd looked at her. Does she come with reinforced floors? Better check your wagon springs. The words echoed in her skull like bells. She scrubbed harder, faster, trying to drown them out. Her breath came in short gasps. Her chest felt tight. The room tilted. She gripped the edge of the basin, trying to steady herself. The basin slipped from her hands and clattered to the floor. Maggie's legs gave out. She collapsed near the hearth, her body folding in on itself. The room spun. Her chest heaved. She tried to push herself up, but her arms wouldn't hold her. Darkness crept in at the edges. Then footsteps. Heavy, deliberate, coming closer. The door opened. Cole's massive frame filled the doorway. He stopped when he saw her crumpled on the floor. For a long moment, he just stared. Maggie tried to speak, to apologize, to explain. I'm sorry. I just need a minute. Her voice came out weak, broken. Cole crossed the room in 3 strides. He knelt beside her, his shadow falling over her. When did you last eat? Maggie's throat closed. Why yesterday morning? His jaw clenched. Water. This morning. Cole muttered something under his breath. Then, without warning, he slid one arm beneath her shoulders, the other under her knees. He lifted her. Maggie gasped. No one had carried her since she was a child. She was too heavy, too big, too much. But Cole lifted her like she weighed nothing. His arms were solid, strong, steady. He carried her through the house to the back room. The only clean space. His room. He laid her gently on the bed. Maggie's breath came in shaky gasps. I can sleep on the floor. You don't have to. Stay here. His voice was rough, final. He turned and left. Maggie lay on the bed, trembling, staring at the ceiling. Her body ached everywhere. Her hands throbbed. Her vision still swam. But something else hurt deeper. Shame. She'd collapsed, failed, proven she was exactly what they said she was. Weak, useless, a burden. Cole returned minutes later with a tin plate, beans, cornbread, a cup of water. He set them on the small table beside the bed. Eat. One word, but not cruel. Just certain. Maggie pushed herself up slowly, took the plate with shaking hands. The food was simple, plain, but it was the first real meal she'd had in weeks. She ate slowly, each bite making her throat ache because kindness hurt worse than cruelty when you weren't used to it. Tears slid down her cheeks. She couldn't stop them. Cole stood in the doorway watching, not with disgust, not with pity, just watching. When she finished, he took the plate without a word. Rest, he said quietly. Tomorrow we work together. He left, closing the door behind him. Maggie lay back on the bed, exhausted, confused, her heart pounding. He hadn't mocked her, hadn't laughed. He'd carried her, fed her, told her to rest. She closed her eyes, too tired to understand what any of it meant. Outside, the sun set over Lane Ranch, and for the first time in months, Maggie fell asleep without the sound of laughter ringing in her ears. Maggie woke to the sound of hammering. Loud, steady, relentless. She opened her eyes slowly, disoriented. Sunlight streamed through the window. The bed beneath her was soft, clean, Cole's bed. Shame flooded through her. She'd collapsed. Failed on her first day. She sat up quickly, her body protesting. Every muscle ached. Her hands were covered in blisters, some burst and weeping. But she pushed herself up anyway. She couldn't fail again. Through the window, she could see Cole working the fence line, shirtless. His broad back glistened with sweat. Every swing of the hammer was precise, controlled, powerful. He didn't look toward the house. Maggie stood on shaky legs and stepped into the main room. It was cleaner than yesterday, but still a wreck. She got to work immediately. She scrubbed the counters until her raw hands screamed. She swept the porch. She hauled water from the well, the bucket so heavy her arms trembled with each trip. By midday, the kitchen was clean. The floors scrubbed. The windows clear. Maggie stepped outside, wiping sweat from her forehead. Cole was walking back from the fence, hammer over his shoulder. He stopped when he saw her. His eyes swept over the porch. The clean windows. The swept steps. You finished inside? Yes, sir. His jaw tightened. Told you not to call me that. Maggie flushed. Sorry, yes, Cole. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded toward the barn. Needs mucking. Can you handle it? Maggie's stomach twisted. This was the test. The moment he'd see she was useless. But she lifted her chin. Yes. Cole handed her a pitchfork. The barn was a nightmare. Stalls caked with old manure. Hay rotted in the corners, home to mice and insects. The smell made her gag. Spider webs hung thick from every beam, and when she disturbed them, spiders rained down onto her hair, her shoulders. She brushed them off with shaking hands and kept working. She shoveled manure into the wheelbarrow, hauled it outside, dumped it, returned, again. Her arms screamed. Her back felt like it might break. Sweat poured down her face, stinging her eyes. But she didn't stop. Cole worked nearby, repairing a stall door. He didn't speak, didn't watch her, just worked. After an hour, Maggie tried to push a particularly heavy wheelbarrow load. It wouldn't budge. She pushed harder, her face red with effort. The wheelbarrow tipped. Manure spilled across her dress, her hands, her boots. Maggie froze. Tears burned her eyes. Stupid, clumsy, worthless. The voices from town echoed in her head. Look at her. Can't even push a wheelbarrow. She waited for Cole to laugh, to tell her to leave. Instead, footsteps approached. Cole appeared beside her. He gripped the wheelbarrow handles with her. Together, he said quietly. Their hands touched. His were rough, scarred, warm. They pushed together. The wheelbarrow rolled forward easily. Cole stepped back without a word and returned to his work. Maggie stood frozen, staring at her hands. He'd helped her. Not mocked. Not laughed. Just helped. That night, Cole brought 2 plates to the porch. He handed her one and sat on the top step with his own. They ate in silence. The sky turned orange, then purple. Crickets sang. Finally, Maggie spoke. Why did you buy the ranch? Cole chewed slowly. Needed land. And me? He looked at her. Really looked. You came with it. You could have refused. Could have told the sheriff to keep me. Cole's jaw tightened. I don't leave people to wolves. Even people like me? What's that mean? Maggie's voice cracked. You know what I am. What everyone sees. Cole set his plate down. I see someone who worked until she collapsed. Someone who got up this morning and kept working. Even though her hands are bleeding, Maggie looked down at her blistered palms. That's strength, Cole said quietly. Real strength. The kind most men don't have. Maggie's throat ached. You don't mean that. I don't say things I don't mean. Silence stretched between them. Then Cole spoke again, his voice lower. My mother was bound labor once. After my father died and left debts. She worked herself to death trying to pay them off. I was 12 when they buried her. Maggie's breath caught. I'm sorry. I swore that day I'd never let it happen to someone else. Not if I had the power to stop it. Why? Because someone should have helped her. And no one did. His dark eyes held hers. You're not property here. You're a partner. The word landed like a stone in still water. Partner. Maggie's hands trembled. I don't know how to be that. You already are. That night, Maggie lay in Cole's bed. He'd insisted she keep it staring at the ceiling. Her body ached. Her hands throbbed. But something else stirred inside her chest. Something fragile, frightening, hope. The next morning, she found work gloves on the porch rail. Worn but sturdy. Cole was already at the fence line when she stepped outside. Found those in the barn, he called without looking back. He was lying. She knew he was lying. He'd bought them for her. Maggie slipped them on, throat tight. Thank you, she whispered. Cole nodded once. Roof needs fixing today. You coming? Maggie picked up a hammer. Yes. Together, they climbed the ladder. And side by side, under the wide Montana sky, they began to rebuild what had been broken. Not just the ranch, but themselves. 3 weeks passed. The ranch transformed. Fences stood straight. The barn roof no longer sagged. Weeds were cleared. The garden showed the first green shoots of new growth. And Maggie transformed too. Her hands, once soft and trembling, were now calloused and steady. Her arms had grown stronger from hauling water, lifting hay bales, mending fences beside Cole. Her body still ached at the end of each day. But it was the good kind of ache. The kind that came from building something instead of watching it die. Cole worked beside her every day, silent, steady, teaching her without words how to read the sky for rain, how to check fence posts for rot, how to gentle a spooked horse with patience instead of force. And slowly, carefully, something grew between them. Trust. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sunset, Maggie finally asked the question burning in her chest. Why are you kind to me? Cole was quiet for a long time. Then, kindness isn't something you earn. It's something you deserve just for being alive. Maggie's voice broke. No one's ever treated me that way. Then they were wrong. She looked at him. His profile strong against the dying light. The scar on his jaw. The weight he carried in his silence. You've been hurt too. Cole's jaw tightened. War does that. Is that why you came back? I was tired of destroying things. Wanted to build something instead. He glanced at her. Didn't expect to find someone who wanted the same thing. I do, Maggie whispered. I want to build something that's mine, that no one can take away. Cole held her gaze. Then we'll build it together. The words settled between them like a promise. But the next morning, hoofbeats shattered the peace. Maggie was hanging laundry when she heard them. Her stomach dropped. Cole emerged from the barn, hammer in hand, face already hard. Sheriff Amos Crow rode up with 2 deputies, all 3 grinning. Brennan, Crow called, reining his horse to a stop. Heard you're keeping the girl. That true? Cole's voice was cold. What's it to you? Just making sure you're following the law. Crow's eyes slid to Maggie. His grin widened. She's bonded labor, Brennan. Not your wife. Not your sweetheart. She's supposed to work, not play house with you. Maggie's face burned. She clutched the laundry basket tighter. Crow leaned forward in his saddle. Look at her. Still fat as ever. You feeding her too much? Or is she stealing from your pantry when you're not looking? The deputies laughed. I heard she ate through her father's entire storehouse in 2 weeks, one deputy said. Probably why the old man went into debt, the other added. Had to feed her. Their laughter was sharp, cruel. Maggie's hand shook. The old shame crawled up her spine like poison. Worthless. Burden. Joke. But then Cole moved. He stepped between Crow and Maggie, his massive frame blocking her completely. Get off my land. Crow's smile faltered. Now, Brennan, I said get off my land. You threatening a lawman? Cole's voice dropped lower, colder. I'm protecting what's mine. She's not yours. She's property tied to a deed, and I own that deed. Cole stepped closer to the fence. which means she's under my protection. Say one more word about her, and you'll leave here on a stretcher instead of a horse." The deputy shifted nervously. Crow's face reddened. "You're making a mistake, Brennan. This town won't forget." "Good. I want them to remember." Crow jerked his reins hard, wheeling his horse around. The deputies followed quickly. As the dust settled, Cole stood rigid, fists clenched, watching until they disappeared over the hill. Then he turned. Maggie stood frozen by the laundry line, tears streaming down her face. "I'm sorry," she choked out. "I didn't mean to cause trouble. I should leave." "I should." "No." The word was sharp, final. Cole crossed the yard in long strides. He stopped in front of her. "You're not leaving. You're not going back to that town. You're staying here, but he'll come back. He'll make trouble for you. He destroyed my father." "Hell, I'm not your father." Cole's voice softened slightly. "And you're not alone anymore." The words broke something inside her. Maggie collapsed forward, sobbing. Cole caught her. His arms wrapped around her shoulders, solid and steady. He didn't speak. Didn't try to quiet her tears. Just held her while she cried out years of shame and fear and loneliness. When her sobs finally quieted, Cole pulled back slightly. His rough hand lifted her chin gently. "You deserve better than what they gave you," he said quietly. "And I'm going to make sure you get it." Maggie's breath caught. For the first time in her life, she believed someone actually meant it. A week passed. Then another. The town buzzed with gossip like wasps in a nest. Cole Brennan keeping the Lane girl. Living together. Unmarried. Scandalous. Sheriff Crow fanned the flames, whispering to anyone who'd listen. "It's improper. A disgrace. Someone needs to stop it." Finally, the town council agreed. On a clear Tuesday morning, wagons rolled up to Lane Ranch. The council. The preacher. Sheriff Crow. And half the town behind them. Maggie was in the garden pulling weeds when she heard them. Her hands froze in the dirt. No, not again. Cole emerged from the barn, saw the crowd, and his face went stone cold. Councilman Porter climbed down from his wagon, thin, sharp-featured, wire, spectacles catching the sunlight. "Brennan, we need to discuss your situation with the girl." Cole crossed his arms. "What situation?" "You're keeping her here, unmarried, unchaperoned, living as man and wife. It's improper. She works here." "That's not what people are saying." Porter glanced at the crowd. "They're saying you're living in sin. It's a scandal." Sheriff Crow pushed forward, grinning. "The decent thing would be to send her back to town. We'll find proper work for her, supervised, respectable." "No," Cole said flatly. "You can't just refuse. This land's mine. The deed's mine. She stays." Crow laughed. "What, you got feelings for her? That what this is?" The crowd snickered. "Look at her," someone called out. "He could have any woman. Why keep that one? Maybe he feels sorry for her. Maybe he can't see straight." Laughter rolled through the crowd. Maggie stood frozen in the garden, dirt on her hands, shame burning through her chest. This was it. The final humiliation. They'd drag her back. Auction her off again. Or worse. Porter adjusted his spectacles. "We're offering a solution, Brennan. Send her back. End this scandal. Before your reputation is completely destroyed." Cole said nothing. For a long, terrible moment, he just stood there. Maggie's heart shattered. He was going to agree. He had to. Why would he ruin himself for her? Then Cole turned, looked directly at her, and everything changed. He walked toward her slowly, deliberately, his boots heavy on the dirt. The crowd went silent. Maggie's heart pounded so hard she thought it would burst. Cole stopped in front of her. His dark eyes held hers. Then he took her hand. his rough, scarred hand wrapped around hers. He turned back to face the crowd, keeping her hand in his. "This land's mine," Cole said, his voice carrying across the yard. "And so is the woman who rebuilt it with me." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Porter sputtered. "You can't possibly." "She's my wife," Cole interrupted. The world stopped. Maggie couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel his hand holding hers. Cole's voice softened, meant only for her now. "If you'll have me." Tears blurred her vision. Her voice came out broken. "You don't have to do this. You don't have to ruin yourself for." "I'm not ruining anything." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "I'm choosing you. If you'll let me." The crowd erupted. "He's lost his mind. She's bewitched him somehow. This is madness." But Cole didn't turn, didn't acknowledge them, just waited for her answer. The world stopped. Maggie couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only feel his hand holding hers. Cole's voice softened, meant only for her now. "If you'll have me." Tears blurred her vision. Her voice came out broken. "You don't have to do this. You don't have to ruin yourself for." "I'm not ruining anything." His thumb brushed across her knuckles. "I'm choosing you. If you'll let me." The crowd erupted. "He's lost his mind. She's bewitched him somehow. This is madness." But Cole didn't turn, didn't acknowledge them, just waited for her answer. Maggie looked at the sheriff, at the council, at the townspeople who'd mocked her, sold her, treated her like garbage. Then she looked at Cole, the man who'd carried her when she collapsed, who'd fed her, protected her, stood beside her, taught her she was worth more than the world said she was. "Yes," she whispered. Then louder, stronger, "Yes." Cole's face softened. The first real smile she'd ever seen from him. He turned back to the crowd. "Preacher's here. Might as well make it official." The preacher, an elderly man with kind eyes, stepped forward hesitantly. "Son, are you certain?" "I've never been more certain of anything." Porter tried again. "This is highly irregular." "I don't care," Cole said flatly. "She's worked beside me for a month. She's rebuilt this ranch with her own hands. She's earned her place. And I'm asking her to stay. Not as labor. As my partner. My equal. My wife." He looked at Maggie again. "If she wants it." "I want it," Maggie said, her voice clear now, strong. They stood together in the dirt yard, surrounded by shocked faces, and spoke their vows. Simple, plain, true. When the preacher said, "You may kiss your bride," Cole leaned down and pressed his lips to hers. Gentle, reverent, real. The crowd stood frozen. Then, slowly, they began to leave. Wagons creaking, horses snorting, whispers fading. Sheriff Crow's face was red with fury as he rode away. Soon, only silence remained. Cole and Maggie stood alone in their yard. Husband and wife. "Thank you," Maggie whispered. Cole shook his head. "I should thank you. You gave me something I didn't know I needed." "What?" "A reason to keep building." That night, they sat together on the porch. The stars bright overhead. Maggie Lane knew Maggie Brennan now belonged somewhere finally. Not as a burden, not as a joke, but as someone chosen, someone loved.